AJ, I just want to do a quick shout out to AJ here because AJ has been a solid follower of the Blueprint and Big Game Indicating Dogs. He's like an OG that's always been awesome, supportive, commenting on stuff. Like, big shout out, man. And AJ's question is, it's a cool one. Hey Paul, how have you found it's interesting, man. Hey Paul, how have you found the last 5 years or so with not training a dog from a pup? My wife has just got a little Mastiff Cross Hunterway as her own dog, and she's putting it through the Blueprint. As she saw how awesome and attentive my dog turned out as a hunting dog and a family dog after following the Blueprint. Have to say it's hard watching her go through it and being hands off with it. She wants to do it herself. That first year, spending time with your pup is so awesome. And once they're set up, it's kind of done. And you end up missing doing the training. It's such a special time. And that, which is awesome. If you've just listened to the previous 2 Q&As, 2 total ends of the coin. In the first one, the one, what to do when your dog doesn't listen, it's a couple back from this. I used that example of a post I saw recently on social media where someone was saying, I just took my dog hunting, it chased a stag, doesn't listen, it's not steady. I know people spend lots of time training a dog, but I don't want to do that. And it's like, I've talked about that. Here's my note on this. That's a cool question and a great point. Raising and training a pup should be a fun time and something that is savoured instead of looked at like an annoying job that is in the way. And it's true, man. And like, that's what's so cool about the Blueprint and the Inner Circle, and like, it's really cool to have people like AJ there, bringing up points like that, you know. So he's saying, what's it been like for me not training a pup or a dog? His wife's just got a dog. She's training it on her own. And it's hard. He wants to get in there and train it because he's missing training it. You know, and that it's a cool, he says, the first year of training and spending time with your pup is so awesome, 2 exclamation marks. And once they're set up, it's kind of done. And I end up missing training. It's such a special time. That's how it should be, man. And it is. It is, you know. At least it should be. But it's really easy, especially in this day and age, to start trying to rush it and look at it as an obstacle when really it should be one of the coolest things you ever do in your life, is train a dog from a pup and go through that journey with your pup and train it into an awesome dog that's not only an awesome hunting dog, but it's just an awesome animal in general, you know, and an awesome family dog, and it's a pet, and it's inside if you want it to be inside, you know, like I love my dogs. My dogs are awesome. And training them has been awesome, you know, but I've also been in that spot with dogs too, where you're getting frustrated and it's turning into a chore, when it shouldn't be like that. And really, to do it well, it can't be like that. Like AJ's hit the nail on the head here. Like straight off the back of the last 2 Q&As that I've done, which is basically ranting about like, you've got to do the training, you've got to do enough, you've got to do it, to AJ's like, man, I miss doing it. You know, which is a really freaking good point. And yeah, it's just a real mindset thing, and you've got to be able to slow down, appreciate it for what it is, and enjoy it, and then it is actually cool. And then it's actually a really good point, man. It really is. And even as I'm talking about it, it's hitting me even more and more. And I've had big talks about this, but it's so easy to lose sight of that, you know. And like, time flies, man. And if you're talking about training a dog and getting it to be good, and a good dog is a 10 to 15 year deal, you're only going to get so many of them in your lifetime, you know. And yeah, it should be something that's savored and enjoyed, the training process, not like, oh God, I've got to train this dog and rush through it. How have AJ said, how have I found the last 5 years or so not training a dog from a pup? I can sort of talk about that. I did train Miko from a pup. And I'm going to go way all over the place with this, man. And it's interesting because if you're talking about how's the last 5 years been for me not training a dog, I don't know if you wanted me to answer that like only in the context of dogs. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to talk a bit about what the last 5 years has been like for me in general, but with work and filming and dog training and videos and big game indicating dogs and the blueprint and all of that. On the dog training side, Miko's 4 now, so I got her as a pup 4 years ago. That was about 18 months of filming and training with her. A lot of that was enjoyable, but my first note on this, man, is some of the last few years have been great. Fishing and hunting and the success of the blueprint and the Pal Miko dog guide and everything taking off, and there's been a lot of cool in there, don't get me wrong. But this is the note. Way too much of the last 5 years for me has been an absolute freaking mission, man. Way too much bullshit to deal with. Nothing to do with the blueprint and the people that follow it. You guys have been awesome, and I freaking mean that too. Like, the blueprint has been on, and all of the people that follow it have been awesome, you know. And I rant answering these questions and stuff, but at the end of the day, that's the whole point, you know. Like, half of the blueprint is a massive rant about how to train dogs, and the whole idea of these Q&As is to back that up, you know. So but more, the bullshit has been with staff, property, politics, dealing with other businesses, and bullshit, and all the minutia of like running a business. They call it, in business, they call it growing pains in the messy middle. When, you know, when I started this, it was like there was nothing there. So it was just like started doing one-on-ones, and then started making the blueprint, just filmed that and did one-on-ones, just trained one dog and filmed that. And then since then, the last few years of starting the podcast, I don't have any staff now, but having staff, starting the podcast, bouncing around different things with property, heaps of stuff with websites and online stuff, and dealing with that and developing websites and setting the blueprint up the way it's set up, that was a extreme amount of work and a lot of bullshit involved in that, and dodgy people, and like the last few years, man, has been a frickin' ride, like massively. And going back to like enjoying training a dog, right while I was making the Palmico dog guide, I had the staff that I had at the time, I had major issues with that. It just wasn't working out. That was a mission, just stuff constantly going wrong. Like as I'm trying to train this dog, I'm trying to train a dog. People reckon training a dog's hard. I'm trying to train it, film it, edit all of that, and deal with the staff member, a new staff member doing that who's like falling apart while we're doing it, and run big game indicating dogs in the blueprint and the inner circle and all of that stuff on top of that while making the Palmico dog guide. Like it was about 11 times more than just initially making the blueprint. And at the same time, I'd shifted into a new property, and then starting the podcast, I needed a proper studio, and then I moved into a work building for that, and talking about people and bullshit. That was just that was a complete stuff up. That was later on down the track. Man, like, so I won't go into all of it, but that note, like, the amount of bullshit that I've been through in the last few years, man, like on top of the good stuff, it's been a lot, man. It's honestly been a lot. And everything's just been constantly changing and moving and adding new stuff, and just everything's just constantly moving the whole time. It's been freaking chaos, man. Like chaos. And that's without COVID. And then like right as the chaos was peaking, COVID hit. And like everything was just chaos. Everything was at full peak. And then COVID hit. When the first lockdown hit, I had all of my stuff in this work building. But I just want to say here too, by the way, this will come across a lot. You can look at this two different ways. This is just me talking, just being honest. And I do want to say, so this could be taken as complaining. And I'm not complaining, man. There's loads of people, especially over COVID and everything, that have it way harder and more difficult than me. And I'm freaking lucky. But I'm just saying, as far as how's the last few years been, bro, it honestly, like, and the only reason I'm talking about it now is because I'm sort of coming out the back end of it, and I've just sort of got everything sorted. The last year, I've been almost full-time just trying to get everything sorted and organized, and moving stuff around and property stuff and backwards and forwards and round, and just trying to organize everything. But as far as how chaotic it was, like in the first lockdown, I was doing like renovations at home, trying to get, I basically got that work building because my whole house with the podcast studio, all my gear, everything, I've only got a small house and I don't have a garage, which isn't ideal, but I've sort of been a bit stuck here. It was chaos. That's why I haven't done that much filming, particularly around the house, other than in the studio. And you're only seeing a little corner, like one little corner of, it's just been chaos, man. And I've had so much jammed into my house. And for the last like 7 years, well, when I've had people working for me, they turn up to my house every day. So it's like, g'day, what are we doing today? And I'm just working from my house. Staff, when we're filming the blueprint, it's like coming around to my house, you know. So my house has always been. It's been like, is this my house or is this where I work? It's like half and half, and that has its challenges. And then a couple of years ago, like 2020, I leased a work building, which was a bit of a stretch financially, but it was just the house. It just wasn't. It was really difficult at the house. Didn't have enough room. Didn't have enough room for storage, so everything was always unorganized, and it was difficult to work because everything was always just crammed in, and it was just hard to keep it tidy and organized. And so I leased this work building, moved in there, went and looked at it on a Sunday. The real estate guy was like, "Oh, I'll meet you up there Sunday. Come have a look at Sunday." Went there Sunday. Oh yeah, this looks all right. Moved in. And man, it was just chaos. It was at this big complex with all of these industrial units at it. And it was just a battle from day one, like turning up and there's cars parked in front of our roller. I can't even get into my unit. I can't even get a park. And just chaos, man. There were people backing through the neighbor's window and like dodgy people hanging around. And then straight away I talked to the neighbor, and he was just pulling his hair out. He owned a place there, and he was like, "Mate, this place is like you've just moved into the biggest nightmare." And I started talking to other tenants and stuff, and everyone was just spitting tax down there. It was just a shambles. I was like, "Oh no." And it was quickly like that for us the whole time trying to operate down there. And then the whole idea was to like do the podcast down there, have the studio down there, and then a frickin' gym. It was not too bad, and it was pretty quiet after about 5 or 6. Then this gym opened up like 10 meters from our door that started at like 5 or 6 in the morning and went to 8 or 9 o'clock at night, just cranking music and running laps around. It was chaos, man. It was something like out of a freaking movie. It was just nuts. And so then I was renovating my house. We were flat out renovating to have enough room to move back into here. And then COVID hit and a lockdown was coming up. And I worked that out, and I was like, man, and I just spent like way too much time and money setting up this commercial building, which didn't work. It was just a freaking nightmare and was the hugest spanner in the works for months. Then I spent way too much money like renovating the house and moving stuff around and making room here. And then before that was finished, lockdown was coming, and I did my homework on COVID. This is like March 2020, before no one even knew what it was. I was running around leading up to COVID. I'd done some research on it, and I'd seen a lot of stuff. I was like, man, people were talking about lockdowns, and if you dug deep enough, some people were saying this might turn into this, which is exactly what it turned into. And so I was about 3 or 4 days ahead of the curve, and I was saying to the dude that worked for me, I was like, I reckon we're going to be in lockdown within 2 or 3 days. Jacinda had said, I got an announcement coming Wednesday, and I did all my research and looked, and I said to the dude that worked for me, I reckon we're going into a full lockdown, and I reckon it's going to be ages. So we weren't even ready. The place was still, I had like unjibbed walls, and it took us like a week or 2 to move all of my stuff from here to the work building. We moved it all back in about 2 days. I think I've got photos somewhere. I haven't even shared any of it because it was just such chaos. It was nuts. As a lot of people's lives were in COVID and that. But heaps of stuff had been pretty nuts for me even leading up to COVID. Really difficult to get much done. And then the start of lockdown we just moved everything out of this big commercial unit back into my house. Just walking in and dumping it on the floor. And I started that first lockdown with like literally half my house was just full of stuff that we just dumped on the floor, and you were like walking around just stepping over stuff in that. And that was like the start of the first lockdown 2 years ago. Just total chaos, man. That's like one little snippet of like what the last few years have been like. And really, like, even going right back 3 or 4 years, the some of the yarns I could tell you about starting filming on the Palmico Dog Guide, some of the stuff that was happening with the guy that was filming for me and getting out places and there's no batteries for the camera and deleting SD cards before we've backed them up, and just like like a bad movie, man, like a bad comedy movie, you know. And just over and over and over, like the run that I had for years and years, man, years and years. I had I just couldn't miss with trapping and hunting and writing for NZ Hunter and starting big game indicating dogs and one-on-ones and boot camps and getting print and making the blueprint. Like, yeah, I just had a run. Everything was just easy and just cranked for ages and went really, really well. And then the last like, because this is what AJ's question. And again, I don't know if AJ's asking this question like just as far as he said, what's the last 5 years or like been not training a dog from a pup? Talking about what's the last 5 years been like. The last 5 years, man. And yeah, I've gone, and you'll see videos of me like going hunting. I'm like, g'day guys, I'm going hunting today, or I'm fishing. You know, Frank was joking about me not making hunting videos because I'm fishing. Like when you see that stuff, it's like the classic. You know, people show the best moments of their life on Instagram and Facebook and stuff. That's like and that's why I haven't made anywhere near enough hunting videos, is because it got to the point there at one point, like during COVID and stuff, and even before that, but after I moved out of the work building, had all my stuff back here and just been battling for ages, and it was so difficult to get away that it would be like 2 or 3 days of madness to get all caught up and organized, to go away for 2 or 3 days, and then you get back and you'd be so behind that you'd be flat out for 2 or 3 days catching up again. And like you just got, so it was like a week's of madness, and then the time you missed out while you're away, it just got to the point where it's like it was barely worth it to go away, man, and go hunting or fishing or anything. And when I did get out and make a video or something, it was just like, get everything sorted. Like, you've got to go and do something right at some point. And it was just like, dump everything aside, take a big breath, and like, g'day guys, you're out hunting, and just like, screw it, you know, you've got to go. But dude, the last 5 years has been a mission. And that's without COVID. COVID hasn't, other than if I had another month before that first lockdown to just finish this place and move back in normally, that having to just jam everything back in here and then be in lockdown and not be able to get materials and not be able to finish and then be way behind, and then the whole hangover that like the whole planet's had from lockdown, that just prolonged the final organization of finishing off of this place in the studio and all the gear, which is the foundation of everything, right? Every mission that I do is all from how your setup is at home. That's where I do all of this, and then that's where I organize to go on a mission. And I had massive team issues, and it's been a lot, man. But I've pretty much like almost to the day. That's why I sat down and did that post. And I was like, anyone's got any questions? I'm doing a Q&A tonight. We might be doing another podcast tomorrow. I've got most of my stuff in another house now, and I've got the minimum amount of stuff here that I just need for work. This is finally set up as basically just a studio and somewhere for me to stay and work, and then I can gap it out of here and go somewhere else and chill. And I've just gone backwards and forwards a couple more times, getting all the stuff I need here to do podcasts and do the stuff. And there's enough room, and it's all organized like it's good. And this week I just started work on basically completely remaking the Bird Dog Boot Camp. And I've got everything I need in the can, footage-wise, to do that now, and I'll be adding a lot more to it. I'm doing a lot of writing for it now. It's going to be, the Bird Dog Boot Camp's going to be like, it's going to be pretty full on, like blueprint styles. A lot of writing, a lot of editing, a lot of stuff going to it. But yeah, so training Miko, it was cool, and even when everything's total chaos, I know how to narrow my focus and just focus on what I need to focus on and do it, and try to enjoy it as much as I can. But to be honest, man, it's been difficult at times, and the Pal Miko dog guy was a mission just because of everything around that. Then I went into the Bird Dog Boot Camp, started filming that. My first bird dog season, my first duck shooting season with Miko was like a total shambles. Could have been worse. There was no accidents. Miko's safe. I'm safe. Everyone's safe, and it's all good. But it didn't go well. Miko got an electric shock trying to retrieve one of her first ducks, and which basically gave her duck aversion training. And it was just a shambles, man, and so much work and such a mission. But by the end of last season, we were sort of coming right, and this season was a ripper. And things are starting to fall into place, and I'm starting to get the ball rolling again. Hopefully I'm gone all the way back around, and I'm just at the start of a run, like when I made the blueprint and stuff. That's what it feels like. I feel really good. And some of the work that I was been doing on the Bird Dog Boot Camp this week's been going really well. I'm doing everything on my own now, all the filming and everything on my own, which is working really well. There's been a lot of work on like gear and setup to do it on my own. It's not easy doing it on your own, but you can do it now. The gear's so good. And that's been a huge part of what I've been doing over the last, it's almost like 3 or 4 years now, and mucking around, just doing my fishing videos and my little hunting videos, and just constantly just mucking around. A lot of that is just experimentation with different cameras and different styles of filming and editing, and working out YouTube and the internet and posting different videos in different ways and filming stuff in different ways and all of that, and like even the podcast and the studio and how I'm doing the sound and everything, the all of that, man. Like I'm almost at the stage with all of that where I should quit doing the hunting stuff and just have like a production company, but which I'm not obviously not going to do. But like, you know, what I'm saying is that's like a whole freaking trade in itself. And so that, you know, and it's there's a lot to it, man, and I'm still learning and working it out. But what I've worked out a lot over the last couple of years about even recently, man, like things about formatting and frame rates and matching it all up on the different cameras. And I've just got a new laptop, which that was an issue for a long time. And that even my old laptop, editing, that was holding me back in ways that I didn't even know until I've got this new laptop. And now I'm doing stuff and I'm cropping it and color correcting. I'm like, I thought I didn't know how to do it, but my laptop couldn't do it. Even just stuff like that, you know, it's I've been working out a lot of that stuff. And so the last few years, man, has been a mission. Hasn't always been fun, been really freaking challenging. There's been times in it that I've been extremely burnt out and like it's been really difficult to make content and even do podcasts and Q&As and stuff. Yeah, this stuff's hard, man. Like, it's funny. It can be the easiest thing in the world or it can be the hardest thing in the world. You hear people say, like, this is easy. Joe Rogan says that. This is easy, man. He'll be on a podcast going, this is easy. This stuff's easy. This isn't hard. And it's something that, like the whole creation of media is something that I've studied a lot for a long time too. Dr. Dre said making a hit record is the easiest thing to do and the hardest thing to do at the same time. It's the easiest thing to do, and that's what it's like. That's what all of this stuff's like. It's like the blueprint was easy, but it was really freaking hard. One thing I can tell you for sure is when the timing's not right, the environment's not right, and the setup's not right, it's really freaking hard. And you can work really, really hard to make something that's not that good. But when everything's bang on, it's just fun and easy, you know? And it's the positioning. It's getting to that point where you're in the right position, that it's fun and easy to make good stuff. That's the hardest part. And maybe that's what Dr. Dre means. Like, making a hit record is the easiest thing in the world if everything's right. And you hear those stories about that, like about some song and someone was just in the studio and someone had a beat that they were just playing around with, and then someone's just like writing some lines over there and just like mucking around practicing, and then he says, wait, what was that? Jump in the booth, puts the beat on, and they'll like record hit tracks in like 4 minutes. And then other times people spend years, well, and even Dr. Dre is an example of that. He's been working on his last album it's something crazy, like 8 years or something. He's been talking about it. I don't know if he's fully cancelled releasing it altogether or not, but that's what it's like, man. That's the whole the war of art. It's and you know, I don't want to be like over dramatic about it or anything, but it can be really freaking difficult, man. And I'm just getting to the point now. This is a note. I'm just getting to the point now where I'm ready to go again, and I'm starting to make some stuff now that I quite like, and stuff. And some of the stuff that I'm planning to make soon, all going well, is going to be pretty epic. It just takes time. It really does. And forcing and rushing content is so hard, and it doesn't come out well. And it's got to happen at its own time. And you have to build momentum in a positive way. Like, and it's like dog training. It's exactly the same. Like, you got AJ saying, "Man, Paul, don't you miss training dogs?" And I'm watching my wife train a dog, and I miss training my dog. And you've got another guy that's like, "My dog's not trained, and I don't want to train it." And you're like, "Man, I wish I could train another dog." That's that whole thing. It's either the easiest thing in the world or the hardest thing in the world. It's all about whether you're ready to go or not. But yeah, and at the moment I'm just focusing on taking everything to another level, and then slowly building momentum from a whole new place, you know, just with all the way I'm filming and editing and like the final product. That's really the thing. Like, I can keep making stuff exactly the way I've been making it, but I'm trying to totally change it and take it to a new level. Exactly that. Yeah. And like, again, you know, I'm not complaining, not at all. I'm lucky. But I'm just stating a fact, you know. That's just what it's been like. Like, if someone said, "What's the last few years been like?" I've had hard jobs working in factories and quarries and meatworks and farming, opossum trapping and goat hunting, and like, those jobs are hard, man. It's hard work every day. Like, you go to work and it's hard, but this stuff can be it can be hard, man. Holy shit. And it's not like it's a little bit of a buzzword, like creator burnout, they call it. It's something that quite a number of big YouTubers have talked about, you know, like the internet's a voracious beast. Like, yeah, you can put everything, as much as you want, into it, and it'll just turn around and go, "Is that all you've got?" And just want more and better the whole time. But yeah, man, so that's how that I feel like that's like the most mega rant of the podcast. But yeah, that's how the last few years have been, man. It's just been like a little bit in the trenches, to be honest. Like I said, compared to the run leading up to making the blueprint, and then making the blueprint, and a couple of years after that, there was a bit of a transition point in there somewhere where it's just been a totally different thing for ages. And I've known it for a long time too, like literally for a couple of years, man. I've just been like, this ain't good. This is a battle and a mission. And not only that, like, yeah, so much work. You know, like working 5 times harder to create, as far as like what I'm actually posting, what I'm actually putting out is way, way less. But it's like building the foundation and so much learning, you know. yeah, it's all part of the journey. So that's probably like just a whole bunch of stuff that AJ wasn't asking about at all. But, you know, man, the whole journey with Miko, whether it was fun or not, has been really important. And like all of the shit over the last 5 years has been really important too. Like that's what's landed me where I am now. And at the moment, I'm in the best position I've ever been in to make videos and podcasts and, you know, YouTube and video series like the Bird Dog Boot Camp that's coming out. I'm honestly pumped on where I'm at right now, like literally what I'm starting right now. And just this week, I made the decision to just completely remake the whole Bird Dog Boot Camp. I'm starting from scratch, right from the start. I thought I had, and I rewatched the whole thing, sat down for 2 days, like sitting down and watching the whole blueprint, you know, your own video series for 2 days, watching yourself for 2 days straight. I watched the whole thing. It's pretty good. But then I was like, nah. And I had some new ideas how I want to start the whole thing off and that. And I'm going right back to the start and remaking the whole thing like in a whole new different format. It's going to be epic. And then once that's done, I don't know how long that's going to take, but maybe 2 to 4 months or something. You know, remembering I've been literally been working on that thing for like 2 years now. And I've had Miko for 4 years. You know, it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of time and work going into this thing. And I remember I was filming with Miko from day one, from 8 weeks old. Made the Pal Miko dog guide with her. Started working on the Bird Dog Boot Camp before last duck shooting season. And then thought about it in between the seasons, did some work with Miko, and then come back this season, filmed all this season, and like the amount that I've learned and worked out, it's the same as leading up to when I made the blueprint. Like I've hunted all my life. I'd been working on dog training for years leading up to that. But the couple of years leading up to making the blueprint was pretty intense. And training a couple of dogs. I trained Fly and then I trained Indy straight off the back of that. And then I made the blueprint. And I've said it before, the blueprint was a little bit of a lightning strike. Pretty hard to just like do that over and over whenever you want. And that's what I'm doing with the Bird Dog Boot Camp, you know. And then once that's done, I'm going to do it with the hunting blueprint, and that's going to be a pretty massive series. And then I'll probably do the Bird Dog Blueprint, which will be starting a bird dog from a pup. And yeah, so anyway, AJ, what's the last 5 years like been for me not training a dog or a pup? It's a real brief synopsis on what it's been like. And like, man, as far as how much of a mission it's been, without all of you guys following the Deer Dog Training Blueprint, basically everyone that's in the inner circle, and just like go to Big Game Indicating Dogs on Instagram, go to our page, go to our wall and just have a scroll there, all of those people, without all of you guys, I mean, it just would have been a total freaking disaster, you know, because it all would have been for nothing. And it's all the support from all of you guys that keeps it all together and's made it worthwhile. So a huge thanks to you guys. And we'll see you soon.